Hi, Chris Kuzmal here, and we're going to be continuing our discussion of induction in Urbane logic. For induction to work in Urbane logic, it has to be true, whatever your proposition that you're trying to prove is, it has to be true for every element in the Urbane base. And that means that the only object in the Urbane base, we must only have the base object and those produced by the successor function. Any other object constants besides that base object will make it so we have not proven the assertion for every object in the Urbane base. And that's what's required in Urbane logic. Now, let's look at the formal rule of induction. This is the rule of induction. It's sort of scary, but I'll read it off and then we'll see how to actually make it work in a proof editor. Because so linear induction says that if we have phi of A, then if we have for all, and I'm going to call this scary Greek letter, I think it's maybe mu, I forget, but I'm going to call it u. So if we have phi of A, and we also have for all u, phi of u implies phi of s of u, then if we have those two things, then we're able to conclude for all v, phi of v. And again, that's not v, I think it's some fancy Greek letter, I forget the name. So this linear induction is all wonderful, but let's see how you can actually make it work in a real proof editor. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get to this very simple, actually not, that's not the one, this very simple application of the rule. I have R of A, and I have for all x, R of x implies R of S of x. And let's type that in and maybe make a couple of mistakes in this particular proof editor just so you can see what things might get in your way. So if I wanted to say, first of all, R of A. And so I just add that in, and notice how the object A is added to our to our set of objects in the proof editor. And so now I might want to say, and to do for all x, I can't type an upside down A. So I can do for all x, R of x implies R of S of x. So here I'm implicitly defining a new a function s, and I'm using the universally quantified variable x. But it gives me a syntax error, which is infuriating. And the reason it's giving me a syntax error is in part that I've not capitalized x. This is just a characteristic of this particular proof editor, but it's worth seeing it because you might go to this very particular proof editor and say, okay, great. And so now you've got for all x, R of x implies R of S of x. And now we can take those two items and we can apply induction to conclude that for all x, R of x. Oops, I think I failed. Let me do induction again. For all x, R of x, that looks right to me. What am I missing? This is why I put in the cheat here. For all x, R of x, no, that is what we're supposed to have. The universal conclusion you want to make for all x, R of x, that looks right to me. No compatible rows. Oh, I forgot to select. I have to select these items. Then I can do induction. And then I can say this. And it's still not happy. Oh no, what the heck? Let's hit induction here and see what this says. That looks identical for all x. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back. And I'm going to hit, let's see if the premises are the same. R of A for all x. Oh, you know what? Oh, you know what I did? This guy is not quite right. This premise is not quite right. So I'm going to add a premise, and I need to put this in parentheses. Okay. I'm going to add that as a bonus premise. This guy I could delete. Maybe this thing will let me. Okay. Oh my gosh, wouldn't let me. Now we'll delete it. So now I select these two, and let's hope, let's see whether or not I can use induction to conclude for all x, R of x. Let's add it now. It lets me do it. So you can see these proof editors are a little bit finicky. So I wanted to make sure that you saw it being used and you saw the frustrations that can happen sometimes. Some of the frustrations were scripted, some of them weren't, but all of them are good for you to have seen. So when you go into a proof editor, you are not too intimidated, that you understand you're going to have to fiddle with it a little bit to make sure you get all of the syntax exactly the way it wants